Good morning, everybody. Sorry I missed yesterday. Uh, let's just say that when things rain, it it pours. Um, Yesterday was a very intense pain day, and had to go get looked at, and they did a nerve conduction study and all that stuff. So they did fine, which is, I guess, good. Some carpal tunnel stuff on my left arm, and then I have an MRI scheduled for the 20th to check where my neck and back are anymore. So, yeah, it just keeps coming and coming and coming. Now, that was about yesterday. However, um, I don't have all good news. I don't have all good news. Um, there more than likely will be some um, changes coming up on Straight Talk. Um, in terms of it being a thing. Um, how's the best way to go about it? Just be frank, right? So there are some adjustments that have to be made on my end um, for livability, um, not body and pain wise, but I just mean um, things are pretty strenuous over here on this part of my globe. Um, and so I have to make some decisions about quite possibly going back into the workforce. Um, and if that happens, then it will be a pretty big adjustment that has to be made on the podcasting side. And it also possibly means that I will not be able to do this or Savage, um, or any podcasting for that matter. Um, so that might be something that has to um, take place. Um, we have a lot going on here, including having to find housing. Um, and that requires a little more finances. And seeing as how YouTube has been so wonderful to us by limiting what can and can't be seen, and how much they reward for channels anymore, it has not become sustainable to make this it, or any of the platforms it. Um, so for the foreseeable future right now, this will continue. I'll still be able to do everything I do, but I am going to be putting my name back out there into the ether for work. Um, I simply cannot, with the way the market is today, there's no way for me to continue this with what has been going on with the um, paying out on YouTube side. I just can't. It's not feasible. Um, it's just not feasible. And as much as I love doing this, um, I gotta I gotta I gotta pick. I gotta pick. Um, No problem, Michelle. I'm only 48, but I'll be 49 in February. So getting back into the workplace will be a little bit of a challenge, seeing how they go for the younger. And I have been out of the market for the last 9 years, and I do have some um, limitations physically. Um, the odds of getting into the market very, very, very slim. Um, very slim to get back into the market. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot on the plate right now. Just a lot on my plate. Um, and I have no doubt that's probably playing into a little bit. It's not, and I can't call it worry. It's not worry. Um, but I can't not deal with it. That wouldn't be responsible. It just wouldn't be responsible. So I just want to get you guys prepped for that. In if it does come down the pike, and you don't see Straight Talk anymore live or even posting, it'll be because of that. I would have been having to go back to work, and I can no longer podcast like that. Um, I will more likely be able to still do Too Strong since we're not going live, and it only requires like an hour in the afternoon after I'm finished working, and I can record. So that's probably the only one that will be able to keep going. But as for the rest of them, any job I get more than likely starts at 8, so it won't be able to do 9, and they probably won't get done until 5 o'clock. So yeah, I thought I'd get that out of the way first. I don't know about the Zoom yet, simply because I don't know what kind of schedule I'll be getting if I get a job. I can't say that I will. Um, I can't say that the Sunday Zooms will continue because I don't know what my schedule will be if I get a job. I'm not saying this will go away because I don't know if I can even get back into the workplace. I'm just letting you know that it is almost now a necessity because of where things are. We have at least till March to be finding a new location housing wise. So I have at least till then to figure something out. Um, it's just a lot. And I figure you guys are a fam. I can at least share that with you. So you have more specific ways to pray. I don't believe in vague statements of prayer. Um, I just don't. I want to make sure that you guys have something solid that you can say, "This is what I'm praying for." And okay, but with that being said, um, we're going to go into something today that has been kind of floating around the interwebs since this particular deal has been made with Gaza and Israel via President Trump. And the biggest one I've been seeing is that, oh, this is the deal that was spoken about in Daniel. And a lot of people are quoting this particular Daniel prophecy, the 70 weeks prophecy, 7-week prophecy, the whole thing. We'll read it. And so we will go through it, because I'm not saying it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just relaying to you what people are saying because of the peace treaty. But then we'll go into the treaty to see if what they're assuming, just because of the nations involved, whether it makes sense or not. That's all we're doing. So we're going to read first from Daniel. Okay, we're going to read from Daniel first. Then we'll go into the deal and see what that says. Okay. Now, while I was speaking, praying, and confessing my sin. Now, this is Daniel chapter 9, okay, verse 20. And the sin of my people Israel, in presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God. Yes, while I was speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, reached at me about the time of evening offering. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I have now come forth to give you skill to understand. At the beginning of your supplications, the command went out, and I have come to tell you, for you are greatly beloved. Therefore, consider the matter and understand the vision. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from going forth and command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. And after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince whom is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary to the end, and the end of it shall come with a flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the wing of abomination shall be the one who makes desolate, even until the consummation which is determined is poured out on the desolate. Now, maybe one day I will do a full deep dive into Daniel itself to kind of put a little bit to rest the ideology that's been floating around of us knowing, based on the time frame suggested in Daniel, that we will know when the end of times is and when the man of desolation is going to show up. We feel like because it mentioned date times like 1 week, 62 weeks, that somehow that is, we can know from that based on something else. I want to make people understand something, and I don't know how much I have to say this, but I feel like I have to keep saying it. That is not for anyone to know. I don't care how many of you out there call yourselves scholars. I do not care how much schooling you've been through. I do not care how much languages you know. I don't care. At the end of the day, it says pretty straightforward, no one knows. I don't understand the obsession with trying to find out something that he told you specifically ain't for you to know. It almost feels like you don't care what he has to say. You just want to be known as the person that says you figured something out. I think that's what most of these end time prophets are really doing this for, is to be seen as, I knew it, I was the one, give me some credit now. But if you are right, no one is going to be around to give you credit. Anyhow, so we see some time frames in here, right? 1 week, 62 weeks, 7 weeks. So let's go to the treaty. We are going to read out this treaty. Actually, you know what? First, let's watch what the effect of the treaty was.
And we begin with breaking news on this Monday. Finally free. Israel and Hamas releasing hostages and prisoners today. 20 remaining alive Israeli hostages and nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners are officially home after a relentless 2 years of war. Good afternoon. It is a crucial step in the Gaza ceasefire agreement.
And today, President Trump received a momentous welcome for brokering this deal. ABC's Christian Cordero reports now the challenging work of rebuilding Gaza, along with maintaining the peace, begins.
Okay. So now we have that out the way. We understand now what took place. The exchange was everybody hand off all your people that you had in captivity. We are about to embark on something different. That's enough. Now let's see how this correlates with what we read in Daniel. Okay. Now remember, the prophecy of Daniel was about specifically Israel. More than anything else, Israel, the Messiah, and them coming back to God. Point blank. That is Daniel. Daniel 9 is not about a governmental issue. This is about the children of Israel coming back to God. Okay, good. So let's break down what has been said in the deal. All right, cool. Let's read the deal. President Trump said that Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of his 20-point Gaza plan in a major step towards a permanent end of 2 years of war. So he's unveiled the plan, and this is the plan. The ceasefire takes effect. The U.S., Qatari, Egyptian, and Turkish mediators will attempt to get both sides to agree what Trump called a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. Now, please recognize the people involved in this. So it's not just two. It's not just a person making a deal with the children of Israel. This is a deal with multiple people involved. So right off the rip, it is not fitting the MO of the Antichrist deal. Okay? It is not fitting the MO of the Antichrist deal. I don't know how else to say this. What we are witnessing is not listed as a part of Daniel. Anybody trying to push that stuff on you is retarded. And I do mean that word because they have to have some sort of a retardant in their thinking if they cannot intelligibly discern between the spiritual connotations of the treaty and the physical connotations of the treaty and not realize that this has nothing to do with what is mentioned in Daniel. Like at all. If you want more proof, we'll continue with the so-called 20 points. Gaza will be a de-radicalized terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. I don't recall that being a part of what the treaty or deal that was mentioned about. If both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended. The battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal. Within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. Once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7, 2023, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remaining 15 deceased Gazans. Now, again, based on what people are saying, not me, not straight talk, we're not saying this. People are associating this peace deal somehow with Antichrist sentiment that Trump is now the Antichrist for brokering this deal. I have a question. Do people really believe that this Antichrist figure is only a political one that dabbles in the religious? Is that what we really believe? Is that what it says? Or do the majority of things that the Antichrist is listed as doing have to deal with the spiritual? You don't find it kind of crazy that the majority of stuff that's being dealt with is 90% a spiritual issue? Things that are going to get done are getting done in the spiritual realm. The majority of the things that are talked about are not legal stuff, governmental stuff. The biggest one of the governmental stuff would be the mark to eat and commerce and work. Everything else has to do with abominations, who they worship, what he can do. Not about the treaties he's going to sign with governments of the earth to make life any different governmentally. This is about him being worshiped. It's spiritual. How are people not getting this? I understand that politics exists, and yeah, I cover politics all the time too. But there is a definite line where politics stops, and most of it is affected now on a spiritual reasoning, which is why the things in the government are happening that way in order to bring about a spiritual action. It is a reason why the one world religion thing is going to be pushed and eventually going to take away the power that we call government. And it will be all about what you believe and who you worship, which is why the punishment of Christians is coming, which is why there's a heavy push to punish Christians. Because eventually everything will be about right and wrong, good and evil, and the choice you will have to make to either follow God or don't. Once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence, there it is, and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. Upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent to the Gaza Strip. At minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with that, with what was included in the 19th January 2025 agreement regarding humanitarian aid, including rehabilitation of infrastructure, water, electricity, sewage, rehabilitation of hospitals and bakeries, and the entry of necessary equipment to remove rubble and open roads. Every entry of distribution and aid into Gaza Strip will proceed without interference from two parties through the United Nations and its agencies and the Red Crescent, in addition to other international institutions not associated in any manner with either party. Opening the Rafah crossing in both directions will be subject to some mechanism implemented under 19th January 2025 agreement. We're not going to go into full detail about this, but I'm still waiting to find out where any of this has to do with a damning way to renege on this contract that would somehow usher in the Antichrist. I don't see it so far. We're 9 points in. We're just under halfway through. Gaza will be governed under a temporary transitional governance of the technocratic, apolitical Palestinian Committee, responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and municipalities for the people of Gaza. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace, which will be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump, with other members and heads of state to be announced, including former Prime Minister Tony Blair. This body will set the framework and handle the funding of the redevelopment of Gaza until such time as the Palestinian Authority have completed its reform program as outlined in various proposals, including President Trump's peace plan for the Saudi-French proposal and can securely and effectively take back control of Gaza, the body will call on its best international standards to create modern and efficient governance that serves the people of Gaza and is conducive to attracting investments. Now, this point here is where they got the real idea that this is definitely Trump is definitely the Antichrist, because he said he's going to be the one in charge of Gaza, but it's not what it said. He is in charge of the board that is run primarily by Palestinians. I don't know if reading is just a thing people don't do anymore. I don't know if comprehension is something that people even acknowledge as a thing anymore. I don't know. But I do feel that people are just happy to run with any and anything that gives them some sort of validation in their belief structure. As much as it might go against what the book says, they'll go with it. I noticed they didn't call Tony Blair the Antichrist, just Trump. I don't get it. I don't get it. Trump economic development plan will rebuild and energize Gaza will be created by convening a panel of experts who have helped birth some of the thriving modern miracle cities in the Middle East. Many thoughtful investment proposals and exciting development ideas have been crafted and by well-meaning international groups and will be considered to synthesize the security and governance frameworks to attract and facilitate these investments that will create job opportunity and hope for the future of Gaza. So let me ask just a simple question. If you're looking at this purely from a political point of view, isn't that what the people have been calling for? Is to avoid the whole idea of people influxing into other countries and ending war, that poverty is the number one leader of violence, right? That's what people say, right? So if somebody went in to try and create an environment where there is no poverty to the point where they want to fight, wouldn't that be good? If you took out the people that were constantly pushing for fighting and replace it with people who are trying to innovate in the location, wouldn't that be the one thing that you'd be, as a political person, looking for? No? This is the first time now that everybody somehow is believing in the Bible. Like, oh, Antichrist. All of a sudden now everybody believes Antichrist is a thing and it has to be Trump. Well, if nothing else, at least y'all are now believing that the Bible has some sort of validity to it with the Antichrist idea. Albeit you might have the person wrong. I'm just happy that you're talking about something that has to do with the Bible. And anyway, a special economic zone will be established with preferred tariff and access rates to be negotiated with participating countries. Bring some money in. No one will be forced to leave Gaza, and those who wish to leave will be free to do so and free to return. We will encourage people to stay and offer them the opportunity to build a better Gaza. Okay, cool. Hamas and other factions agree to not have any role in the governance of Gaza, directly, indirectly, or in any form. All military, terror, and offensive infrastructure, including tunnels and weapons production facilities, will be destroyed and not rebuilt. There will be a process of demilitarization of Gaza under the supervision of independent monitors, which will include placing weapons permanently beyond use through an agreed process of decommissioning and supported by internationally funded buyback and reintegration program, all verified by independent monitors. New Gaza will be fully committed to building a prosperous economy and to peacefully coexist with their neighbors. Again, this is a political deal. Political deal. In the world of politics and government, making a way for neighboring communities to live together is indeed part and parcel of their deal. As for the religious, there is no coexisting. that there can't be a coexisting the way people want it to be. It can't happen. But this is about political, plain, simple political. Now, the majority of this, again, the United States work with Arab nations and partner to develop a stabilization force for Gaza. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza as the ISF established control and stability, so they are not going to enter Gaza anymore. In the event Hamas delays or rejects the proposal, the above, including the scaled up aid operation, will proceed with a territory that will be handed over from the IDF to the ISF. An interfaith dialogue process will be established based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence to try and change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace. That's another point where they said, see, definitely Antichrist stuff, but they won't call the stuff that's happening with the Abrahamic faith house Antichrist at all. You see the problem? I have a suspicion that the reason they're calling everything Antichrist is because of one guy, not because of what the treaty entails or anything like that. They just don't like the guy. And if they can label the guy as the Antichrist, everything he does will be seen as Antichrist-ish. And finally, while Gaza redevelopment advances and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. The United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. So now I will address this particular line about the religion, the interfaith thing, this right here. Both Gaza and Israel are steeped in their religion, steeped. Whether they follow it faithfully or not, they are steeped in religiosity. You want to call it whatever you want, call it being Jew, call it being a Muslim. They each integrate their faith into their politics. But the deal is political. They have to work out their own interactions religiously, hence interfaith. The difference between what this is requesting versus what the Abrahamic faith is, they're trying to teach everybody that everybody will get to the same place eventually. No one's talking about that being the seat for the Antichrist, though. This whole idea and call for peace, peace, peace everywhere. Peace, 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 peace. This particular treaty that was signed by President Trump with Israel and Palestine, Gaza, is a government one. It is not the treaty spoken about in Daniel 9. It has none of the earmarks, none of the reasonings at all as listed in Daniel 9. It says it right here at the beginning in verse 24. 27 weeks were determined for your people and for your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, not peace, righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Is this deal doing that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Is this historic deal between Israel and Gaza doing what it says that it was going to do in Daniel? It does not. It doesn't address it. It doesn't even mention it. It doesn't do anything about the end times. But people hear, oh my gosh, historic broker deal, between Israel and a war. And we're going to hear about rumors that, man, it's definitely the end time treaty going to happen. This is definite proof that he is definitely the Antichrist. Well, man, wow. What? Ooh. I will never get it. Everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to be the one. So we pick up numerology now. We got numerology. Numerology will tell you everything. If you just look at the numbers, all the numbers mean something. You just are missing it. You're just not reading enough. If you would just but take some time to dive into this stuff, you will understand that we are in this portion of the year. We are in this portion of the prophecies. We are in this portion of the end of times. And if you just read the rest of it, you'll understand that God did indeed tell us we're going to know. And we have a way of finding out. We just have to do the math right. Not only do you have to do the math right, you know what else you have to do? You have to make sure that you watch and see who's in power so you can tell that this person is going to be that, that's going to be that, and this. Listen, you can know all that and still not be ready. You can know all that info and not be ready. Completely miss it. You could nail the date right. Tomorrow, he'll be here. Okay, cool. And you're just waiting for the fact that he's showing up tomorrow because you want to be proven right. But you have no oil. You got no, your lamps aren't trimmed. You've fallen asleep. But at least you were right about the date. Be right about the date all you want. But if you're right about the date and getting it and you still don't make the cut, what was the purpose of you getting the date right? Throwing something at the wall and hoping it sticks is not the same as a prophecy, by the way. I keep telling people all the time that there is a time coming where people who have thought that this particular world is going to offer themselves of solace because they're a Christian, and at one point peace will happen, and then you can keep waiting for that when it tells you the opposite. And there'll also be the same people that will tell, well, it'll get better, but I will leave before it does. Please read and make sure you're not reading this wrongly, but that never says that. So I don't know where you're getting that from either. Now we're looking at deals made between countries and thinking somehow we can cross-reference that with something in the Bible to prove that it did indeed happen and is going to happen. And these things are just a precursor to the precursor of the post-precursor, and everything else is happening, man. I gotta wonder about whether or not you believe God when he says stuff. Why is it difficult for us to just listen? I'm serious. Okay, he said, no man knows the hour. I don't know how you get around that. I really don't know how you get around it. It says this, okay? Matthew 24. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. It says verse 32. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near. Near. That's all it tells you. At the doors. Doesn't tell you when. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till these things take place. And this is where the people say, well, what does it mean by generation? Read further. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Is he talking about the generation that he was in? Or no, generation of man, period, point blank, mankind. But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father alone. So please tell me, why are you still so interested in knowing when it's going to happen? Why? Why? What is it? What is it that's bringing that out? But as in the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For in the days of Noah before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken, the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what time the thief would enter, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. But you got to know, right? Spend your days scouring books and listening to people, what they see and what they think. Listening to this monkey people talk about this 23rd of September. Okay, I was wrong calendar. The 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And here we are at the 14th. And y'all gonna keep listening to these idiots tell you that they know something, or God showed up to them and told them something that he told you you wouldn't know. And the remedial will follow and listen. I don't know how many people have come forward saying they know when the end times will be. They know when people are going to get raptured. I don't even know where they got the idea of the rapture to begin with, but that's a whole nother conversation. They know, man, trust us. Yeah. Look, listen, he's showing up at this time. You better be ready. These are the things happening. Don't you see? You remember when the big move was he's going to transfer the wealth of the earth to the kingdom of heaven? Remember all that nonsensical talk? Oh, the dollar is going to crash and then everybody will be equal. And then he's going to transfer all the wealth of the wealthy to the kingdom of the believers. And all the believers are going to have finances and wealth beyond their wildest imaginations. Y'all remember hearing about that? Here we are. We're not willing to go and follow the man that the rapture will be about. We're more interested in the rapture. We're not interested in going to find and have a relationship with the man who the end times are about. We worried about the end times. We're not worried about having a relationship with the man who's going to give signs and wonders. No, we're more interested in the signs and wonders. We don't care about the person giving the gifts. We care about the gifts. Amazing. Anyway, I had to get this addressed simply because of not that I know so much. That is not the reasoning. It's fundamental to read. That's all. It's just fundamental to read. There's so many precursor things that are supposed to take place that have not blatantly not take place. They're worried about the very, very, very end before anything happens, which is why they'll get and fall for everything in the middle. They'll fall for all the stuff that they say they will never go for. They will go for because they're not watching. You're not watching. Listen, if the word doesn't tell you when it's going to happen, but it breaks down every single portion of time frames in terms of events, it does. It gives you an event, a pretty blatant event, but nobody's following the sequence of events. They all say, well, that happened already and this happened already. But if that happened already, then explain what's going on now. But you can't explain what's going on now, because if this is going on now and that what you said happened in the Bible has happened already, then something is out of sequence, which makes God a liar. I even heard people say, well, Jesus already came back the second time. We are in the post-tribulation era now. Okay. But nobody can mark when that happened. He told you every eye would see, but somehow everybody missed it. That's just crazy work. That's crazy work. To each his own. I'm just putting it out there that this is a problem. And the more people listen to this nonsense, the less inclined they are to find Christ. They'll be set in looking for signs, looking for wonders, looking for activity, looking for this, looking for that, but never looking to Christ. They look for, but not to. They look for all the caveats, all the extras, but not to. They don't. They don't want to do that. Isn't that weird? Anyway, heads on a swivel, people. That's all I'm saying. Heads on a swivel. Tomorrow, I do have something to deal with and to talk about when it comes to Miss Owens, Candace Owens, that is. And that is about the demonic entities and activity that she's entertaining. And I know I will upset some people who believe in the visitations things and all that stuff, but it's more, and I'm not saying that the spirit world doesn't have interaction with us. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just going to bring something to you for you to watch what you might consider interaction. Watch out for what you might consider as God doing something, and watch for if it's not your own ideas that's presenting themselves in dreams and not the other way around. That's all I'm going to bring up. That's all. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And it's not necessarily about her, but it's how pervasive that thought process is with the amount of people that listen to them. And I'll show you something about her people that I believe is a very crazy thing, that they're looking to her almost as though she is a prophet. I'm not kidding you. They really kind of think of her as a prophet. Okay. Just want you to know that. But we'll be back tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, so there's no Savage today, but we're dropping a few videos for Too Strong, both sides. To catch up on the update I gave everybody, go back to the beginning of this video if you weren't here. It's just going to be interesting the next couple of weeks. That's all I know. Oh, so if you want to pray for something specifically, it would be for me not to allow stress to get the better of me. I have a propensity to do that. I can admit that. I can definitely get ahead of myself and try to do more than is necessary. I do have the propensity to try and act without consulting. And I do feel the inclination to do that, and I'm trying my best not to. Okay? That's all I'm asking for, is that. prayers that I can keep a level head and stay centered. Not do too much. Do what I need to, but not too much. Okay. Because it's not easy. It's not easy to do. So I appreciate you guys, all that you do anyway. Scrolling at the bottom. Yeah. Y'all know what to do with that. In the meantime, in between time, we'll be staying true to what we've been doing until something changes. But, however, if by March, I want to make sure I leave this particular thing out there. If by March things go the way I don't want them to go, there will be no way for me to do this program. Just so you know. There will be no way to do it. Okay. Because it kind of depends on the location. And if you don't have a location, it's kind of difficult to do. So, we'll catch up about it then. I'll keep you updated if something big breaks through or something. I have heard about them. The problem with them is that if they have conflicts with disability, one has to go away before the other one helps. By the time one goes away to have the other one help, it leaves you in limbo with nothing under you. Nothing. You have no way to get back to anything because you can't go back on disability. You're done. If you decide to get off, you're done. You're not getting back on. You're not doing that. So, if I have to risk my body to do it, I might have to. But at the same time, it's a very delicate balance I have to strike here. A decision just has to be made at some point. That's all. I just have to make a decision of what I'm going to do. So, anyhow, again, you know what to do. Scrolling at the bottom. We'll vibe at you guys on the morrow, God willing. Wisdom calls to you from the street. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and know